to her.
Yes. And I was like, I love everything about what I'm looking at right now. Can we be friends?
I love that. And here we are. I'm so grateful for that.
Seriously. How many women are like connected to others but don't feel like they can call it out and say, like, I really am connected. I feel like attracted to you, but in a, and I, you know, we can go there. It's like really connected soulfully.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Like we can even ask ourselves, how many friendships do we have right now where we can call that friend up and just dive into it? Like the most in-depth, wildest things.
Not enough.
Not enough. I'd say you and maybe two.
I was going to say really you.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like when I just need a reset, like when we go to brunch, when we go, you know, just even meeting up anywhere.
Yes.
It's like I get in my car and I'm like all the way full.
All the way.
Like overflowing, inspired, connected. Yes. And even though a lot of our conversations are actually talking about really painful and traumatic things.
Really painful and traumatic things.
But it's like I feel just so liberated.
Yeah. Seen, heard, valued, understood. Like the level of emotional intelligence that I feel like you have, that we have collectively, that's what allows us to just go there, right? It's like, it's
deep.
Amazing.
I also love how you call me out. Like, remember when I was talking to you about dating and you're like, wait a minute, watch out for that spiritually conscious man who probably might be smidge narcissistic.
He's fine. He says all the right things, but be weary, okay? Of all of the like green/red flags. But no, seriously. I mean, we as women, we like to hear those things that give us value and praise and make us feel understood, but also that trait in men can be a little scary sometimes.
Have you always had a good like man meter?
No, like me being good at meeting men. No, I wasn't good at meeting men till I found my husband. Okay. Like I feel, and you know what, when we talk about childhood trauma, feeling seen and heard, my father was the narcissist that I'm like, watch out, because he knew how to say all the right things, but he was like not a good guy.
Yeah. You know, and I feel like I'm actually used to men that don't know how to say the right things.
Well, at least you know
so
right off the bat.
So when I hear the right things, I'm like,
yes.
But do they have it figured out?
You just
or am I getting played right now? Or if I just won the lottery? I don't know.
See, I think what can be very telling is like that sense of like, he's saying the right things, but is there any slight need to control or say something that is, you know, what you want to hear, but a little bit of controlling complex in that, or like needing to feel superior, like most men do, but also are they able to nurture you and your nervous system and just everything that you need to feel full and like, you know, is he a safe place? You know?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I've really like taken to heart since my divorce has been the exhale. Like which relationships and which connections make me inhale and which ones make me
like is he a soft place to land, or am I existing in fight or flight mode?
Right. And any man who's attracted to my strength, not my man.
And you know, when we talk about, or when men say, you know, is she coming from a space of daddy issues? It's so interesting how we as women take on those issues and we start to internalize them like it's us. Because I remember even having guy friends who would say things like, no, I'm not interested in her. She has too many daddy issues. I think for me, with all the issues that my daddy had, I had to learn to give them back. Okay? Like, that's not my stuff. That's his stuff. That has nothing to do with me. And I think and this is like 10-year-old me realizing like, no, my dad was this abusive man. He did all of these things, but that has nothing to do with me. I don't have to go and be attracted to that. Now, initially I was, but really stepping out of that and like gaining the courage and emotional intelligence to understand that even though that's all I knew, that sure as hell isn't what I deserve. And I think that's so important.
And I think for me, it was noticing, like I just sort of divorced my dad last year, where it was really like, he came to me and said, you know, you don't need to always have the attention. And it made me think, but yeah, Dad, it's okay if I get attention.
Wow.
And I just thought, like, my 4-year-old self that constantly saw him walking away was like, oh, that's why, that's what. And it was that moment that I got to speak my truth back to him. Like, actually, yeah, Dad, I am getting attention and I deserve it.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you finally like felt like you stepped into that power to say that?
3 months ago.
Oh my God. I was like, I just graduated college and my dad was very controlling with things. Remember, like, he bought me a car and then took it away, or he would do things like take my shoes or games away when I would literally like scream for my mother when he was literally abusive toward her physically. And then he would manipulate me into thinking that my mom was this bad person or I was this bad person. And what's so interesting is how I internalized that and how I kind of felt like I had to tolerate it because he controlled the narrative and he controlled everything. But I was 23 when I finally owned my own car, and I remember going to him as he was in another relationship abusing the next woman and just like going off on him. It was so empowering.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
really
so good for you.
It's one of those moments. It was such an aha moment. I mean, I've had so many of those aha moments over the last few years where I realized I was just giving my power away to like every man in my life. And I'm not anti-man here. I like love men, right?
Love. Good ones.
It was a moment of clarity where I realized where I was performing, where I was feeling inadequate, where I was nurturing my insecurities, where I was not valuing myself. So while I can be mad, you know, or resentful about not getting attention as a child or being abandoned as a kid or, you know, not being valued as a wife, but in what cases was I providing that for me?
Yeah.
So it's like nobody will ever treat you better than you treat yourself. And once I really conceptualized that and integrated that in my life, which has been really over the last few years, it's been liberating as hell. Maybe I've spent more time with myself than I ever have because of that, because there's this like mass shedding of relationships that are just superficial and that just take up space, but don't create space. You know, and I think when we were talking in the beginning here about just having like the power of having just even one connection,
one deep connection,
right? Just having the capacity to send you a voice note when, you know, even I'm getting ready to go out on a date, or I just had a really amazing day at work, or I'm feeling really flooded with emotions or triggered by this or that or the other thing. And just having a sounding board with another, you know, soul that can like mirror back to me what it is that I need to see in the experience, or maybe what I'm not seeing, has been really powerful. And I think that's one thing that I'm extra grateful for our friendship.
I could not agree more. Like even having this conversation about daddy's issues, you know, and like it just being so real and so authentic. I feel like there's just nothing that I can't say and talk about. But in creating this space of authenticity and honesty, there's so much liberation in that. And that's why we leave the conversations feeling like, let's do it again. Let's talk about something else. Yeah. Let's heal from something else.
Let's heal. Let me get together and heal. There is something that's like empowering in the rawness. Have you always been raw, or like when would you say you really connected with that like vulnerability?
I truly feel like, as far as I can remember, 7 or 8 year old me, like, one would consider me as like the bad child, but I was always the curious child. Sure, I got into things because I was incredibly curious. I had tons of questions. When I was the black girl in church and I had to go to Bible study, I had questions about what Jesus said to do. And when I did not get the proper answers, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Who said God said to do this? You know what I mean? So I feel like I always was difficult in that way. And one would say you're a bad child. But I kind of felt like, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more curious and maybe a little bit more emotionally intelligent here. Yeah. So I was like that child. But also I think having to literally be born into adversity and resilience and all of the things that I had to experience as a child that I should not have kind of built that in me for sure.
Yeah, I grew up like seeing behind the curtain of the business of church. And so it was a really, I was conscious from a very early age of what that business structure looked like. And it really did separate me from faith. I don't feel like I really connected to my own faith or really, connected to the divine until I was going through cancer like 3 years ago. And that was really a fully different experience. Like it was a different God than I grew up with. I grew up with a God-fearing mentality, not a God-loving.
Ooh.
And, I grew up with a total dichotomy, right? I spent my time as a child in LA where we were the only white kids, and then in Iowa over the summer where there were no black kids. So when I was in Iowa and there were no black kids and we weren't even allowed to talk to black kids, I was so conscious of that dichotomy. And then when I was in LA and I saw, the bus drivers and the security guards and the teachers all favoring me to the point where all my friends would get mad at me because I could do no wrong. And that's when I learned really at such an early age in both spaces, I had to really, I grew up just so conscious of my whiteness. And I feel like that was such a gift. As a child, it was really confusing. But now I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Because
I think that having that perspective shift in real time at the same age, developmentally, I had such an awareness of a really deep-seated problem, in our society.
Yeah. So basically, you've been woke and radicalized since the beginning.
Since the beginning. And truly, honestly, I'll tell you,
I love that.
It was my friend Marquita who told me, literally, I was 5 years old and I was mad because they were mad at me. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't do anything about the fact that they are so nice to me. And she told me, you're the only one who can stick up for us because you can't get in trouble doing it. And it was like, oh, I have chills all over my body thinking about that right now. Because it's true.
Yeah.
And I think it's when I went to Iowa and I got in really big trouble because I made eye contact with a black kid.
Stop.
Literally almost got sent home.
Stop.
And with my grandfather, he said, I'll send you back if I see that again. And I said, take me to the airport now.
Wow.
Like at 8 years old, 9 years old, talking back to my grandfather was like not an appropriate thing to do.
Wow.
But I remember that so vividly. And I think, now I think our whole family has shifted in so many ways because of, I like to say it like you poke holes in the boat.
Oh yeah.
When you're constantly,
you're the disruptor in your
when
family.
you're constantly questioning things and you're like, well, why? But why?
As you should. It's called critical thinking skills. It's called emotional intelligence. And I feel like we live in a society that teaches us not to have that. Because if we knew better, we would do better. And it's so insane to me how much they don't want us to know in this American society. Ooh, that's a deep conversation for our next episode. There. But listen, I feel strongly that a lot of the depth that we have comes from that resilience and that ability to step outside of the box and even step outside of ourselves and connect on a deeper level because we can have this conversation. I feel like there are so many, people of color who are afraid to talk about certain, issues within Black culture, right? The self-hate, the way we've been taught to view ourselves and others, and then white people being afraid to talk about the way they've been taught to view Black and brown people.
Well, and ourselves. I mean, I grew up so critical of self-righteousness, right? Like, I didn't glorify our preachers. I didn't glorify our pastors.
Same.
Because I saw them behind the scenes. Like, they were the ones that were the most racist, the most sexist. Like, I wasn't inspired by them. I was inspired by my bus driver. You
Listen,
know what I mean?
And the proof is still in the pudding because the pastors are still that way. Like, we talk about white Christian nationalism, crazy. It's still the same mindsets. It's still the same agenda being pushed. Because if we begin to integrate, like we have, that is threat. That is a big threat to American society. Yeah. And again, us knowing better, us doing better, we get to stand up tall and confront our abusers.
That's right. And really the commitment to being better, right? So, we have talked about white fragility a lot, But really, that term fragility and understanding what is it that makes us fragile? What is it that makes us so easily offended? What makes us so like protective of our
Whiteness.
Yeah. Inherently, without even, I call it diet racism. It's like at what point, what parts are we hanging on to because they feel good or make us feel safe? And where do we land when we stand up against it all? And we don't have a community that supports us.
Yeah.
Because we've sort of turned our back on our own community, but so it puts us sort of in this nomadic space. But to me, that's the point where you really get like raw.
To the root of the issue. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when I feel like I've experienced white fragility in white spaces, for so many, it is just all that they know. It's their entire identity. So the ability, or the inability rather, to step outside of yourself, to seek to understand someone else, marginalized groups of people, women, Black people, Hispanic people. Do you have enough empathy, or have you been raised with mostly apathy to not be able to even fathom the experience of Black culture, of Native American culture, because you've been taught to fear that culture or to hate that culture, or both?
And really understanding and accepting that it might not be about understanding. It might be about having empathy
Which
and
we
compassion and an awareness that you might not understand everything. You just have to not be an asshole.
It's that easy. It's that easy, but yet it's so hard to do because, again, when you talk about patriotism, I just strongly feel like when that is people's entire identity, and then what kills me is that people like that are raising children, and when I think about raising my children in a world where they should be able to exist freely, if we want to talk about God and we want to really talk about who he is and what he says to do, not what we've been taught, it's about loving your neighbor, everyone. It's about really having empathy and understanding and just collective togetherness. But we live in a country where we've been taught to not have that, because if we did have it, we as people would win, but we continue to elevate losers to power. So we, in turn, lose too. And I hate that for us.
Well, where I really see this conversation going for us and for all of our listeners is a real tangible path for how we can all show up a little differently with a little bit more compassion and empathy and awareness and a commitment to connecting with one another in a way that allows us to really see and hear each other in a way that's meaningful and that's raw and that's impactful and inspiring, because we have that choice to show up different.
Yes.
Even when we make mistakes. When my daughter was like 13 years old, she came to me and she said, "Quit telling me that you understand what I'm going through. You don't understand what I'm going through."
And your baby girl is biracial?
Yes. And she was experiencing a lot of racism her whole high school career. And when she'd come home and I'm working to support her and I'm hearing her and I'm seeing her and I'm wanting to love on her and just nurture her and squeeze the pain out of her.
Save her.
And save her from it and really guide her on how to deal with it. But what I would say is like, I get it. I understand. And I'm hearing that I see you, I hear you. She's hearing, you couldn't possibly understand what I'm going through. And when she told me that, it was just that awareness behind that word. Just understanding that I might not understand.
Yeah.
And that word itself was triggering because it's impossible for me to understand. And so there was that real, like, it's a slap in the face, but in a way that was really eye-opening. And instead of it hurting the ego, it really became about, okay, what else do I not know? If I grew up with Black friends and I felt really connected and witnessed so much of the pain and the experience, but I was still screwing it up.
Mm-hmm.
How can I be better
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at expanding how I show up?
Yeah. And see, what's beautiful about that is that as a white woman, you've laid down your superiority and stepped outside, your ability to step outside of yourself and really seek to understand someone else, your child, rather than this idea that you know it all. And so that allows you to have the empathy and the emotional intelligence that you need to have to understand your daughter, to understand her experiences, to speak up for her when no one else is. And that is so amazing.
And really to iterate and like scream from the rooftops
Ugh.
that our entire world needs to see that there is nobody more disenfranchised and disempowered systematically than Black women.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
And I just having that, witnessing that for my own daughter's experience just drove that home in such a way that it was maddening.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a sentiment of like, when you see something, you don't have to necessarily experience it for yourself. You can see a problem and know that that is a problem and I need to be part of a solution over there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
It was a constant thread. You know, what Marquita told me when I was 5 years old, what my daughter told me when she was 13 years old, the conversations that you and I have had, it's so powerful. And so my hope here too is for all white women to sit in it.
Yeah.
And just feel the feelings, feel the discomfort, feel the emotions, feel the insecurities, feel the fragility, feel the moments right before you do feel like you're going to break because you want to hide from it.
Yeah.
It's like, just pause and like, just listen.
Yeah.
And like, see what we can learn and do better and how we can show up for our sisters.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation with my mother-in-law. I love her. But it's been the conversations of, hey, step outside of yourself and seek to understand rather than thinking that you know it all. And because I am so aware of the performative behavior that white women give.
Because your mother-in-law is a white woman.
Yes. I almost have to ensure, and this comes from childhood trauma, are you safe? I don't care how performative you are. Are you safe? Are you a safe space? Do you actually understand, right? Because now you have Black grandsons. Do you understand what they're going to experience, what they're already experiencing? And are you going to acknowledge that? And that's so important for me. See, I've already experienced it. I'm already experiencing it. But it's that need to protect our children from this reality.
Yeah, and us and really us showing and guiding them on how to see things differently.
Yes.
You know, I remember my grandmother who was talking to my daughter, and she said, "Malia, I don't even see your color. You know, I just see my granddaughter and I love her." And you know, Malia looked at my grandma and was like, "But grandma, I want you to see my color.
Yes. Good for her.
I want you to see who I am.
Because you know what?
Because it's part of me."
Yes. And I've heard that so many times, but I've always said, to say that you don't see color is to say you don't see me. And you see me. You see this blackness. You see this good melanated skin. Don't pretend that you don't see it. Acknowledge it.
Right. Well, that whole color blindness came out of the whole like early 90s, you know, DARE era.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Do we go there? Do we have time?
No, but seriously. And it's the avoidance issues. So when we talk about getting to the root cause, we should talk about the childhood traumas, the daddy issues, and those conversations that were rooted in telling us to see someone differently, to not make eye contact with a Black person, to see them as less than, or to see them as fearful humans, or to whatever capacity. We've been taught a certain way of thinking. And honestly, I feel like collectively, we just have to reprogram our minds.
That's right. And really facing how we've been indoctrinated to be inferior, or we've been indoctrinated to feel superior, and how as white folks, we need to see that.
And as Black people, we have been taught to be inferior. You know, we talk about how I am married to a white man. I can't tell you how much projection that I get from self-hating Black people who choose to see me as, what have I gotten, bedwench or being married to a colonizer, this mindset that still has us mentally, emotionally enslaved to the BS of a broken society. If we don't choose to change that, then we stay mentally and emotionally in bondage. So in order to learn and grow and liberate ourselves, we need to have more conversation, real conversation, and getting to the root of the issues.
Yes, reflection.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Reflection and integration and really accountability.
Yeah.
You know, like I think of all of the projection of like fetishism.
Oh my gosh.
You know, how many white women that I've met that have only dated Black men but have no Black girlfriends. Let's talk about that.
Red flag. It's a red flag.
You know, and also where is it and how is it that I do connect with Black men easier than I connect with white men?
Yeah.
I connect with that rawness and that depth. And I've found that a lot of, you know, the white men that I've dated, it is a lot of performative. And, you know, I appreciate the like honesty and the, I don't know, there's like a rawness to me. And maybe that's why, maybe it just goes back to my childhood and like yearning for that level of acceptance.
And realness and just authenticity.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we are born to be resilient and to deal with adversity and to be strong. God, I couldn't be more in love with my Blackness and Black culture. We are incredible. And I feel strongly in understanding what you're saying, like going back to just, yes, it's comfort. It's all of the things. It's powerful. You talk about Black love, and I'm so...
It's so deep.
It's so deep, and it's so powerful. But also there lies so much pain, so much abuse, so much abandonment, so much avoidance. And that's what can or cannot make it toxic. So it's the growth piece, right? Like me being married to a white man, I think one of the most profound things that I've learned is how we work, right? And you talk about the statistics. It's very interesting, but what I've come to find is that my husband is not intimidated by my level of strength, powerfulness, my ability to step up. He uplifts that, right? And I find comfort in that. Whereas I think of someone like my father or someone like my ex who was intimidated by that. I challenged his inferiority complex. I challenged his ability to feel like a man or good enough because he already has to go out into the world and go out into the workspace and deal with white men who make him feel inferior, make him feel less than. And a lot of the toxicity that happens in Black culture and Black families is the Black man coming home and then taking that emotional self-hating abuse out onto the woman. And so when I think about how I need to raise my sons is to ensure that their nervous system is regulated and that they know themselves and that they know that they are powerful and incredible and nobody can make them feel inferior without their consent. I think it's the knowing of that and the confidence and the emotional intelligence in that. So within my marriage, it works so well because honestly, as a white man, as my husband being a white man, he's born with privilege. Let's just be honest. He is a privileged male who doesn't have to go out into society and work in the workplace and feel inferior or feel threatened. He's born with a place. It is what it is. But I don't have to deal with that threat or that complex. You know, he uplifts the power within me. And I find that to be really interesting because I didn't know that before. You don't know until you know. And I'm like, what is it that makes the marriage rate for Black women and white women higher, right? What is it about it that works so well? And just thinking about my marriage, I see how that makes sense.
Your marriage is such an inspiration to so many people. I mean, you can like feel the love oozing from the two of you.
I'm obsessed. He's more obsessed. Got to make sure they're a bit more obsessed with you.
That part.
In any relationship, no matter who it's with. But yeah, it's also ensuring too, because it can go both ways. White men can definitely indefinitely fetishize Black women And you just know. Hell, I know. So anytime I'm
You
like
can feel
saying,
it.
yeah, you can feel it. Like, whoa, slow down, buddy.
Yeah.
But but I think that my husband, he's so passionate. He's so nurturing. If there's one thing that my mother-in-law has done, she's instilled that level of intelligence in him. And it's so beautiful to see it exude. And he's so nurturing. He's such a good father. Oh my gosh.
It's really magical.
It's amazing. But he also understands that pouring into me allows me to pour out, right? And of course, we have moments where we compare. And prior to him, I was in one relationship for 10 years with a black man, my college sweetheart. And what I noticed was the similarities, unfortunately, to my father. He wasn't as bad as my father. So I thought, okay, this is good enough. But some of the abusive traits that I witnessed to, and then on the outside looking in, is the inferiority complex. And not even inferior to white people, but inferior to me. You know, me being able to get out and get into a leadership role after college and grow, he was threatened by that. So he put me down in turn. He didn't lift me up. He didn't pour into me. It's like I threatened his power as a man, his superiority as a man. And it pained me because I could see that and I wanted to help him see that so that he could do better. But you just...
Gosh, it's interesting that you say that because I feel that very same power dynamic that I had with my ex-husband. Right?
It's real.
That our relationship was thriving when I was a housewife. But as soon as I went back to work and it shifted a lot of the dynamics in the home and in our life and in our, friend groups. And, there was a lot of putting me in my place. And I found there was that superiority complex.
Yep.
And I think that showed me really how inherently inequitable our relationship was and how transactional it was.
Yep.
So when I disrupted the energy exchange, our entire connection was affected because of it. Yeah. And I didn't realize what was happening in that moment, or maybe I would have had the capacity to communicate more effectively what it is that I needed and how I needed it to shift or change.
Yeah.
Whether or not he could have met that call, I have no idea. But it's really that reflection point that I think back on a lot now. And it's, at what point did I lose respect for him? And at what point did he stop feeling poured into?
Yeah.
And how can I make sure that I show up differently as a partner in relationships now? And also, how can I make sure that I'm creating not expectations, but standards of how I want a partner to show up with and for me?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's understanding that dynamic that has really shifted my awareness around all my relationships, friendships included. I mean, I went through a series of just massive change over the last few years, finishing chemotherapy, getting a divorce, leaving my job, moving, all within 6 months. And it was like this life that I had perfectly curated suddenly just didn't resonate anymore. And it wasn't what I wanted at all.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was on the other side of this, but it was like, just not that, because I had built a life so incredibly perfect. The only problem was I had to be perfect in it. And once I was raw and
not performative,
not performing, I didn't have the capacity to perform. My body physically couldn't and wouldn't.
Yeah.
I remember everybody was asking me, like, when's Mel coming back? They were so excited for old Mel to come back from work and my relationships and get back into the scene and get back to work and picking up projects and going on date nights. And all of it just felt like I was being smothered with like tar. It just felt like so suffocating. Staying in that old life would have killed me. Yeah. It was already killing me. I think that's where I got the cancer. Yeah. But it really is that awareness that shifted everything. Yeah. And now when I look at friendships, now when I look at men to date and when I go out on dates and when I really connect, it's not about painting a perfect picture. It's not about me defining or finding somebody that's going to fit a seat that I'm looking to fill.
Right.
There's no preemptive, prerequisites.
Yeah.
It's all about connection.
Yeah.
You know, in my friendships and my relationships and my work environment, do you make my life better?
Exactly.
Do you inspire me? Do you challenge me fundamentally? Do you see me in my rawness?
I love that. I love the challenging piece, because a lot of us don't want kind friends until we get those kind, real friends that hold us accountable.
That's right.
That tell us real things
That's
that
right.
even we don't want to hear, but we need to hear them. And I've definitely had friends who can't handle the truth, and I've had to choose to love them at a distance.
Yeah.
And I think that is important, because I too want that friend who's going to hold me accountable, who's going to be honest with me. Don't have me just out here thinking that I have it together and I don't. Don't lie to me. What kind of friend is that? So I think you craving that authenticity, and then being a woman to step fully into your power and align yourself with your truth, that's all you crave. And that's all you should crave.
You know, when I first got divorced, my husband first moved out, I wrote on my mirror, I'm going to intentionally walk into my power.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
At that time, I had no idea what that even meant. And then I learned to think that was me walking into my autonomy. That was walking into my business. That was walking into my entrepreneurship. That was walking into building this nonprofit and writing this book and doing, it was also performative. No, walking into my power was really walking into my softness.
Yes.
It was walking into my vulnerability.
Yes.
It was walking into the questions that I didn't have the answers to, but I knew were questions that needed answers.
Yes.
It was, how am I going to seek out better solutions?
Yeah.
How am I going to seek out and attract better relationships? How am I going to create better standards for myself so that I'm not putting myself in situations where I'm powerless?
Yes.
And losing my autonomy and just giving it away.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Like, I can be mad about all of those things, but why?
Why?
Nobody will ever treat you better than you treat yourself. So shift it.
Speak. I really feel that strongly. I remember being the college girl who, fell in love with the guy, and, we spent together 10 years, and I felt strongly like, this is my first everything. I'm going to marry this man. We're going to have kids. I'm going to be the one who broke all the generational curses and traumas, and this is going to be the guy, and this is going to be it. And when that relationship started to fail 7 years in, I did not want to let it go, because I felt like if I let it go, I failed. I didn't break the generational curse. I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do and change course. And so I thought that tolerating the abuse and tolerating the constant cheating, oh my God, it was awful. And what really happened in my relationship was, I played volleyball in college. My ex ran track, and he was hot shit. He was that guy. I said I would never date an athlete, but then I ended up dating an athlete.
We all say that at least once.
And so, after college, typically when you're an athlete and you think you're going to go pro and that doesn't happen, there's a huge shift.
Massive.
Huge.
Identity
Identity
crisis.
shift. Talk about it. And so there came this new person that was not the same guy. Who am I going to be? Who am I? I don't even know. I can't pour into you. Like, I'm supposed to be running professional track and going to the Olympics, and that didn't happen for him. So I became his punching bag. And I thought that I could take the beating, because the beating wasn't as bad as my mother's beating, the one she got from my father. I thought that I could help him and heal him and nurture him through this tough season in his life. But I couldn't. We're talking about 13, 14 women that he ran through, and me thinking, God, I would talk to these women. I would literally be the girl having conversations with the women that he cheated on me with, trying to seek to understand, even when I already had the answers. Why are you walking away? Why are you holding on to this toxic relationship? And I didn't want to let it go. But what was a huge point for me was how I would talk about having it all together, how I was performative, how I would say that I'm this and I'm that, but at the end of the day, I'm coming home to someone who doesn't value me at all, like in any capacity. And then we're talking about a year later, I'm pregnant. So I'm like, oh God. But you know what was really insane for me? I was more prepared to be a single mother than I would ever stay in that relationship and take my child through the same type of dysfunction and abuse that I experienced as a child. My son being born is what made me find the strength to walk away.
Wow.
I was so ready. And I mean, I remember finally getting him out of my house and back to his mother's house and playing Mary J. Blige, I'm Not Gonna Cry No More.
Oh, yes.
And like just feeling like, because, you know, in that relationship, I was so afraid to let it go, but I started to fall out of love and in love with myself. I think towards like year 8, in 9, I was going on dates with myself. I was doing all of the things. I was finding out who I was. Why was I allowing this? So I was like breaking up with him, but still with him. And then my mom moved to Arizona. She knew something's not right. I need to be down here. And then when she moved out here, that same week is when I found out I was pregnant. Like literally 2 days later. And so all of this change, it was just like, it was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And that really aligned me to step outside of my performative behavior and this idea of what I wanted things to be and into the reality of what was, and knowing that I can still develop greatness from here. And here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how I even think about those songs like bring you back to exactly that moment, that feeling.
Oh my God, yes.
That like sensation when you finally get brave enough to be like, nope, and I'm out. Mine was, I get out. I'll get out before they box me in.
I love that.
And I would just listen to it constant. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I listened to it until I believed it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's a soundtrack for my entire life.
Oh, same.
Yes.
I made a playlist. The day I was diagnosed with cancer, I went outside and I put on my AirPods just to like take a lap around the building. Mm-hmm. And the first song that came on was Girl on Fire.
Oh my gosh.
And I created an album from that moment. I listened to that song probably 1,000 times as I walked around the building, just kind of processing what was happening. But since then, I keep adding songs as a song really resonates.
Yes.
It's called Making Mel on Spotify for anybody listening. That. Honestly, enjoy. It's the most empowering playlist ever. You can follow my path through cancer, through my divorce, through my career shift, through my, I'm going to call it breakdown, and then through my build up. Yes. It is this journey of self-discovery and, this awakening.
Yeah.
And it's so raw and messy and tumultuous and scary, but it's so liberating. I mean, to wake up just so free.
Yes. Oh my God, that's the best feeling in the world. Oh. To be just so authentically you.
That's right.
And to the point where like nobody can tell you a damn thing. Because you know better. You know yourself. So even when you get the negative attention or you get the unkind words, you know what? Hey, baby, I'm going to extend you grace because you don't even know any better. Like, I go out to eat sometimes by myself still now and 3 kids later because I don't ever want to lose me again.
Oh, amen.
Oh, my gosh.
That connection to dating yourself.
Oh, my God. I love it.
I didn't even know I liked flowers until I got divorced. And I started really nurturing and romancing myself. It was like, wow. I curated my home and my space and in such a way that allowed me to just be.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. There is a piece that actually my daughter called me out on recently, asking if I was truly emotionally available as I'm out in this dating world.
She asked you that? I love it.
Yeah, because I kept attracting, you know this, but I kept attracting these like, I'm polyamorous and I'm ethical non-monogamy, or, I'm divorced, but actually, no, I'm still married but separated, but I'm also living still with my wife.
This? What are you
So doing? All of these things, I'm like, how am I attracting all of these men that are definitely not available? And my daughter says, well, Mom, maybe you're not quite as available as you think.
Let's get to the root here.
Yeah, she said, like, if you... are you really ready to be a we again? Like, could you give up that aloneness?
What was your answer?
Like, autonomy.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, I can now. I mean, this was some reflection over the last few months for sure. But it's every day becoming more aware of what that looks like. And really, I think that's the challenge of integration, just like what you said.
Yes.
It's how do I create relationships and dynamics and partnerships that that do have space for me to still connect with myself
And be who you are.
and be who I am.
Yes.
And not get caught up in the production.
Yes.
Or in the connection that then, I'm such a merger that where I don't merge my way out of my own autonomy again. And I think that that's the beauty of relationships, is that it does mirror what you need to see in you.
Yep.
And it does expose what realities you might not see in your aloneness, or in your time with yourself. Yeah. And that like reflection, I like feed off of it. It's like intoxicating for me. And so, when I saw that realization, and then even since, now when I'm attracting more available men, and maybe it's not aligned, I obviously haven't found the next person, or the next person hasn't found me, but I feel so deeply in just the divine timing, and as relationships and connections come to me, I see what I need to see. And if it feels good, if it's an exhale, if it's fun, if it's aligned, if we're connected, amazing.
And what's so beautiful is, as you continue to connect with yourself, it's going to be incredible, because you will meet someone where you are, because you can only meet someone as deeply as you've met yourself. Yeah. So I can't wait to be there witnessing it. I know that. I can't wait super excited.
You'll get the first filter.
I know, please. I better. Who else? No, I love this. And may we continue to just have the conversations where we get to the root cause and we just talk about it, because it's so healing for you and I know it's so healing for our viewers, and may it just continue to blossom into something more and more beautiful and real. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. I think may we continue to be as raw as possible.
Yes.
As vulnerable as possible.
Yes.
And really not allow, and really encourage one another to like go deeper. Right? To always we say to the root, to the root, to the root. It's like there's always a deeper cause. Let's get to the foundation. And let's rebuild it together in a way that's healthy and connected and empowering and empathetic.
Yes.
And I truly, I know that it sounds so cliche, but I believe these conversations can change the world.
Yes. And what's so great at the end of that is liberation for us all. Okay.
Freedom, baby. Let's
freedom,
go.
Freedom, I can't lose.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Adore you.
I love you.